everyone. Jen Pike here from 99 Inspired People. So a couple of days ago, I had posted out onto our Facebook page that I'd been receiving a lot of questions from some of you about skincare. And this is an area for me that, especially in the last, I'd say probably 7 years, has become something that I've done a lot more research into and had to because I started to have issues with my skin as well. And so, we're always looking through, kind of that mirror, that glass on the other side. And so often people reach out to me and just say, like, you don't have any issues and you don't have any weight to lose. And, you've figured out your schedule to manage working out and eating healthy and this and this and that. And you don't have any problems with your sleep. And I'm like, no, but my one sticking point has been my skin. And so I thought that I would share a little bit of my own personal journey throughout X amount of years. What happened 7 years ago that kind of woke things up again in my skin, and what I've been doing personally to try and combat that, and how I work with clients, some of the products that I use. So I'm going to try and keep this about 10, 15 minutes long. Just try and jam pack it with information and hopefully give you a little bit of insight into maybe what you can do for your skin as well. So if we go back in time, when I was in my teens, I didn't really have a ton of issues with my skin. I would get a couple of pimples here and there, but when I would get them, they would be, not just like a little pimple with a head. They would be like a bump that would start under the skin, and it would take a few weeks to come to surface, and it'd be quite painful. And when it did, it would be huge. And, back then I didn't know, don't squeeze, don't pop, do any of that. So I was just irritating my skin. And I was also modeling back then. And at the age of about 15, I also went on the birth control pill. And so when I went on the birth control pill, a lot of the issues that I had with my skin stopped. I would still get those, what I now know to be cystic acne pimples that would come up on my face. But being on the birth control pill, which is synthetic chemical hormones, was regulating all of my hormones. So my breakouts really weren't that bad. However, I was signed with Ford Modeling Agency when just before I was 17. And when I was on one of my casting calls, my agent who came with me said, you've got a couple of these pimples. How often do you get these? And I said, well, sometimes just before my cycle or once every couple of months. And she said, well, I want you to go and see a dermatologist because we want to try and nip that in the bud. And I said, okay. So here I am, 16 years old. So I went to a dermatologist, a celebrity dermatologist downtown in the city. And so when I went there, he said, yep, what you've got is a little bit of cystic acne. It's hormonally based. You're already on the pill, so that's a great start. Don't go on the pill for acne. Please don't do that. And so he said, that's a good start. So we're going to put you on this cream. And so you're going to use Cetaphil or Spectrogel to wash your face. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put this cream on your skin, and it's going to kill any of the bacteria that's living on your skin. You won't get the pimples. And I thought, awesome. That sounds great. And it worked. I applied this cream that was prescription that I had to actually get from the pharmacy. Again, I was 16. I didn't know any of this stuff, and I was going to a doctor, and I was listening to my booker, and I was going to the pharmacy and listening to the pharmacist, and I was getting this cream for my face, and it was working, so I didn't question anything. What I didn't know is that the cream that he had me putting on my face was a topical antibiotic. It was a lotion that would go on my face that had a moisturizing component to it, that had some salicylic acid, some benzoyl peroxide, and then had 2% clindamycin, which was the antibiotic. And I was applying it on my skin once in the morning and once at night. So I was putting antibiotics on my face twice a day. And I did this until I was 24. So for 9 years, I was on the pill, which was obviously not doing good things for my gut and for my hormones. And I was applying this clindamycin, this topical antibiotic, on my skin. Well, I had no idea, added another little complication there is I'm adopted. And, I've always known I was adopted. Great story. I've met my whole birth family now. We're all really connected. But what I didn't know back then is that both my birth dad and one of my brothers, I have 2 brothers and a sister. They stayed together. This is another story for another time. But they had really bad cystic acne and went on Accutane and tetracycline. So this was in my genetics. This was in my gene pool. And what I've learned about cystic acne is that there's actually a bacteria that you carry in your body that it will come to the surface when it is poked, when it's nudged, when it's awoken. And for me, what I've learned over the years is that if my levels of insulin are out of whack at all, so if I have too much sugar, if I have too much alcohol, if I have anything stimulating, I'm not a coffee drinker, but every now and again, if I go and have something that has coffee in it, not only do I not feel good energetically, I will feel it and see it in my skin. So when I came off of this prescription lotion when I was 23 years old and came off the birth control pill, my skin was good for a while. And then I got pregnant with my daughter Emerson when I was 25. Great skin during my pregnancy. No real problems after Emerson. And then I got pregnant with Sam, my little man. And apparently, carrying a boy, my level of androgens, male hormones in my body, were elevated. And so that just woke things up. I've got an itch. And when that happened, I had horrible acne all across my chin when I was pregnant with Sam. And I actually went back down to the dermatologist when I was pregnant with him. And I was like, look at what are the options? What can I do? And he tried to put me on the exact same regime. Cetaphil, Spectrogel, said you could try things like, Proactive, but it can be really drying to the skin. Let's put you back on the clindamycin because it no, it worked. And I was like, I'm pregnant. I don't want to be putting an antibiotic on my skin. And he was like, well, that's kind of the only option I have for you right now. So I didn't do that. And so I pretty much suffered and persevered. And when I gave birth to Sam, it really didn't get any better. I had, a couple months period of time and I tried lots of different products and things would get better for a bit and then it would go right back to being really bad. And for me at that time, it was aggravated all around my chin. So when he was a couple years old, I opened up my studio. My level of stress was through the roof. I was eating healthy, but I was grabbing lots of bars on the go and, granola and, different types of yogurt at the time. And so a lot of the things I was getting into my system still had a higher insulin connection. And I hadn't done the work over the years to fully, really completely get those chemical forms of estrogen from the birth control pill and the chemicals from the antibiotics out of my body. Plus, having gone through 2 pregnancies, hormones were definitely out of balance. So I started to do some liver detoxification. I started to clean up my diet even more. At that time, I was still doing a little bit of organic Greek yogurt. I cut the dairy out 100%. And I really started to be very cognizant of my sugar intake. I found this product, B. Cayman's, that I, preached to the world about for like a solid year, that it was, the answer and it had helped my acne so much. And then my acne came back. And then it got really bad again about a year ago. And that probably in hindsight, when I look back, is when I recognized that that's when I knew that I needed to move forward and to let go of the studio and to kind of change paths, and that there was some different things that were awaiting me, and that my body, I was 35 then, my body was starting to go through a different cycle. So I started to use traditional Chinese medicine as one of the remedies to try and help my skin. So I started to work with a Chinese medicine doctor, Dr. Yen Yi, who is in Richmond Hill. And it worked beautifully. I also started to double up on taking my Juice Plus. I started to feed my body more plants, and it worked really well. And I started to really watch my sugar intake. And in all of that, I had decided I was going to start to train for a fitness competition. So I was doing more weights, which was better for my system at the time because it was helping me to utilize my insulin. That my body was, either taking in through food or producing based on the level of stress that was going on in my system. And so things got better. And then a couple of weeks ago, really like not even 2 weeks ago, my mom came up with some homemade cookies, and they were gluten-free and they were dairy-free, but they had sugar in them. And I'm not typically the type of person, you can have sweets all around me and I'm not going to grab that stuff. It's not usually my go-to. But she was like, Jen, you have to try these. I took grandma's aggression recipe and I made them gluten-free and dairy-free. You've got to try one. And I was like, all right, fine. So I ate one and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And that is all it took. I had one, and then as I was cleaning and doing stuff throughout the house that day, then I went back and I had a couple more bites off another one. And then And it turned out, so I had like 3 at the end of a course of a day. Then that night, I decided to take my daughter out for dinner. So we went to a restaurant, and typically I get a salad and fish and that type of stuff. And so I ordered that, but she wanted to get an appetizer. And there was like this, spinach artichoke cheese dip thing that I would never get. And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds amazing. So we got that. So it came with flatbread, which was wheat and gluten, and Emerson really didn't eat much of the dip, and I was like manhandling it like I was shoveling up snow and stuffing it into my mouth. And that tasted really good. And then the next day, I ate a couple more cookies, and I could feel it. I could physically feel that I was having this reaction to just getting this small taste of sugar in my mouth. I probably had about 4 lattes that weekend too. Like I was just like, who are you and who has taken over my body? And I, taste bud wise, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I'm just going to let myself I'm not going to worry about it. Sunday morning, this is 2 days later, Sunday morning, after I'd had this amazing period of time with my skin, I woke up and I had a cyst starting on my cheek, and I had one that was starting on my chin, and I could feel that there were some others that were coming up. And I was just like, I was pissed. I was like, are you frigging kidding me? I'm so healthy and clean all the time. I have a weekend where I just have a couple of things, and now I'm getting these. And I was to be appearing on both Global and CHCH back-to-back segments on Wednesday. And so this is Sunday that I started to feel it. Monday I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, most definitely they're going to happen. And when you have cystic acne, and those of you who suffer from it, you don't pick, you don't touch, you just try to treat and pray and clean up your food, and you leave them alone. And so that's what I did. But I had to go on TV, and I had this huge, and it's gone now. And that's the thing too, is that because I use essential oils and good carrier oils, my skin will heal from it quickly now. But it was bad. And even I look at the footage, and you can clearly see it because they're putting concealer on, and there's like a bump on my cheek. And I was just like, well, there you have it. I'm human too. I break out. And so here's what I do. So, restrict the sugar. I just know for my system that I can't have it. It's just, it doesn't make me feel good at the end of the day. It makes me want more, kind of makes me cranky as well too. And it breaks my skin out, and that's not worth it for me. So this is a product that I started to take, and I continue to take even when I was doing the Chinese medicine route, which I'm back into doing now as well, is Estro Smart by Lorna van der Haag. So this is a really, try and get it out of the glare for you. But there's Lorna van der Haag there. You can get this at Zara's. You can get it at Superstore, Nature's Emporium, Ambrosia, any natural health section. It's Estro Smart. And the reason is this is incredible for balancing out your hormones, helping with your skin. And so it has all the key components in here that are going to help to bind to the excess chemical form of estrogen that's moving through your body. So if you've ever been on the pill, if you've ever taken an antibiotic, if you've ever been on any over-the-counter medication, if you've ever used makeup that's not organic, if you're using skincare products that are not organic and paraben-free and sodium lauryl sulfate-free, all of these ingredients in our makeup and our cleansers and our moisturizers and our shampoos, our conditioners, they're all full of these estrogen mimicking hormones, and that is impacting your whole body. It's affecting your menstrual cycles, your PMS, your bloating, your mood swings, your cravings, your skin. Not just with acne, if you have rosacea, if you have, any issue that's going on with your skin, we can trace back to your diet and we can trace back to your hormones. So this is a big one for me. I've used this on and off over the last couple of years, and I'm back on it right now. Also some herbs from my Chinese medicine doctor, and I've added a little bit more of my Juice Plus capsules in, again, just to get more of the plants into my system, because even doing what I do for a living and eating so well, I still can't physically consume or chew the amount of plants I need to get in every day. Now, a couple more things here before I sign off with you. What do I clean my face with every day? So I started to use the oil cleansing method. I don't even know how long ago. I want to say a year. It could be longer than that. I stopped using abrasive cleansers, foaming things, any of that. I really do love, there's 2 lines that I really love, Skin Essence and Cocoon Apothecary. Their products are incredible. But for me, cleansing my face, I only cleanse it at night, and I make my own oil cleanser. So this is some castor oil and jojoba oil for my skin type, because I can have oily to combination skin. And if you Google the oilcleansingmethod.com, you'll be able to see based on what your skin type is, what you should be using. And then I have some essential oils that I add to that blend. And I mean, I use doTERRA. I love doTERRA as a company. There's Young Living, there's different ones like that. Honestly, if you just go on and Google essential oils to heal acne, essential oils to heal rosacea, essential oils to balance dry skin, it's just going to spit out tons of different suggestions and different recipes that you can start to use. For me, Melaleuca, tea tree is a really important one. Because this is going to kill any of the bacteria. So like I said, this is in my genealogy, and that's epigenetical, meaning that I can do things to wake up that bacteria in my system, which I've also learned is connected to getting cavities and gingivitis. And I have cavities. And so this is something that, what's happening up here and what's happening here is stemming from the gut. So it's so important that I'm really honoring and staying really connected to what's going on in that ecosystem, my gut microbiome in my own personal body to help to manage this. Lavender is also incredible for healing the skin. It's great for toning as well too. Frankincense is fantastic because it's going to reduce inflammation. So any redness, any puffiness, any pain that's associated with any of your breakouts, and then helichrysum. So helichrysum is a precious oil. Both, like, this is about $100 a bottle, and so is the frankincense, but it's going to last you, honestly, months, like a long, long time. And so I'll do a combination of these things in my cleanser. And so what I do is I just put like a dime size of oil in my hand. I massage it all the way through my face at night. I get a cloth and I make it really, really, really hot. Not like where it's going to burn me, but very, very warm. And then I cover my face and I just press and hold it until that heat starts to dissipate, almost like it's steaming, so that any of the impurities are getting out, but any of those incredible oils are getting in as well. And I do that a few times through into my face, feels clean, and I pat it dry. And then I do a toner with some witch hazel and some wild orange and lemon and maybe another combination of these oils. And then I apply topically to any breakouts, which is HD Clear from doTERRA. So it's got juniper in it. It's based in jojoba. It has the helichrysum, the frankincense, the melaleuca, the lavender. If I have a pretty stubborn pimple that's happening, I'll just put some tea tree oil on it, specifically just on that area. So those are some tips to get you going and get you started. But we're all human. We all have our thing, and I say to people, yes, for me, there are certain aspects of being healthy and feeling well and looking well that are really easy for me to manage, and that's great. And then there's other things that I'm dealing with as well too. I mean, you can imagine being in the industry, and I write about skincare and I talk about all of this, that, and then to show up for national television programs and to have these pimples on my face, it's just like, I swear I know what I'm talking about. Don't judge me based on this. And that's been, part of my journey in all of this. And and even just like that self-love, being able to look at myself in the mirror when I have those breakouts. And like, I've got one that's here right now. It's not awesome, but what are you going to do? Back in the day, it was like, I used to like put makeup on before I'd get into bed with my husband if my skin was really bad. I don't do that stuff anymore because, yes, there is that momentary pause when it happens where I'm like, oh, and I get frustrated, and it does. It'll affect me. It'll affect me in things that I choose to do, to show up to, and not to do. But I know that there's a reason that those things have presented themselves. So now, instead of focusing so heavily on the crappy part of it, I change that energy around and say, okay, well, what do I need to refine? What do I need to do? What do I need to clean up? Where do I need to pay more attention? So I always just try to look for what's the experience and the lesson in the experience that I need to take away from this. One last little tip, your makeup. Head over to Nature's Emporium, go into Whole Foods, go to Ambrosia, take a look in their departments to get some really good, clean makeup. One of my favorite companies, I love Fusion, or Mineral Fusion. I love RMS, this one right here, RMS, Rosemary Sweeney. Great concealers. I actually apply my concealer onto my pimples with a lip brush. So I use a makeup applicator. Instead of like coating, I don't put foundation on. I wear zero foundation. zero foundation. I just conceal what needs to be concealed. And then there's a great powder from RMS that is called Unpowder, and it's pure silica, which is a mineral that your skin and that your body is made up of. And so I just dust silica powder on my skin so that it's not clogging my pores like using a pressed powder or any of that type of stuff. But I love Mineral Fusion, Zissou, Jane Iredale, RMS. Honestly, just go into those stores, consult with one of the people that work there, especially at Nature's. They're also fantastic and so educated. Let them take a peek at your skin and go from there. So I hope that gave you a little bit of info, some inspiration, some insight. And if you have any questions, just post them below. Let me know. Our latest article newsletter that went out this past Saturday for Simplicity Saturdays was all about your skincare. And there's a whole chapter in my book, The Simplicity Project, which you all have an e-copy of, or perhaps a paperback copy that you can take a peek at. So signing off for now, I'm going to go get the kids off the bus, but you have a fantastic day and we'll touch base soon.